and welcome back to the Way of Truth through Torah. As we go back into Genesis, into the deep dark jungles of Fairfield. Y'all quit monkeying around there.
Old monkeys.
Guys, we're gonna fill you in on some of Abraham's. Y'all feel better now since you got wild and woolly?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I see you. See, I got the way to do it now. I can see you back there. Oh, heck. Oh, hecka. So, guys, we are doing the Torah Parsha Laka. What does that mean?
Milk. No, I'm kidding.
Go!
And you go.
And you go.
And you go. So, the Torah Parsha, the words for it, come from the very first sentence in that Parsha. And 12:1 says, and Yahweh said to Abram, go yourself out of your land. But guys, listen. Abraham is 75 years old when he's told this, okay? Go back up here. In verse 26 of 11, he's just been born. I mean, so we're going from he was born, Haran died, Abraham got married, and then he left. For 75 years, we don't know what happened. Y'all want to know?
Yeah.
Good, because you're going to find out. So I'm going to read a few notes that I took. Let me see, 10 pages here. I'm kidding. They're fixing to leave me. So where was Abraham born? He was born in the Ur of Chaldean. In the Ur of, and it's also called Kasdim. So he was born there. And it was during the time of the reign of Nimrod. So Nimrod was king. And who was Nimrod?
Bad guy. He made, he was the one that made,
He made Babel. He also built Nineveh. He built Ramses. He built many of the Mitzrayim or Egyptian cities. Who was he though? Who did he descend from?
Cain.
Okay, where did Cain come from? Okay, he didn't come from Cain.
Oh, you did?
He came from Ham.
I'm sorry. Well, that sounds right.
Ham I am. So he came from Ham. So Ham's son was Canaan, and Canaan's son was Nimrod. Okay? And Nimrod started out as a very good king. Yah loved him. It says in the scriptures. Yah loved him. And then he became very evil about everything that he did. Okay, so we're back. Put yourselves back in the day of Nimrod. Okay, there are idols everywhere. We're living in Babylon. Okay,
We are.
huh?
We are.
We are. Hey, we don't have to go back too far, do we? We're there. Evil all around us. Living in beautiful cities of Babylon, surrounded. What didn't Babylon have all the hanging gardens? Mm-hmm. I mean, it was just a beautiful city. Okay, so Terah, in verse 26 of 11, it says, and Terah lived 70 years and brought forth Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And this is the genealogy of Terah. So Abram was not the firstborn. I don't know why he is put first here, because Haran was actually the firstborn. He was quite a bit older than Abram. But Terah, do y'all know what he did? He was an idol maker for Nimrod, for King Nimrod. So he literally, he built all of Nimrod's gods. Don't you know those were powerful, right? So he was an idol maker. Abraham, and his name was Abram back then, but Abram was actually born on a night when all of Nimrod's men had come over to Terah's house. They had had like a banquet and a feast, and they had eaten. And Abram was born that night. And when they walked outside, they saw this huge star. It started in the sky, and it went all the way across the sky. The scripture said it raced across the sky. And as it raced across the sky, it devoured four other stars from different corners of the heavens. And they knew, these wise men of Nimrod knew that this was a prophecy as to the baby that had just been born, Abram. And so they waited, and then the next day what they did was they explained to Nimrod, that baby born last night, when we walked outside, we saw a prophetic sign in the sky. And it told us that at some point, Abram will take over your kingdom.
Then that sounds something like Yahusha.
Yes.
When he was born, or before he was born, the signs of
The Star of Bethlehem
Yep.
was in the sky.
Yep.
And the wise men followed it.
Yep.
So, and it took them,
It's
3
the
years to
beginning
get
and
there.
the end of the nations.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Um,
So once they told Nimrod what this prophetic event was, he decided, and he told Terah, we're going to have to put the child to death. I want you to give him to me. I'm going to give you this beautiful horse. I'm going to fill your barn with amazing grain and hay in exchange for your child, and we're going to put him to death. And so Terah did agree to this, but the child he substituted was one of his servant girl's children. It wasn't Abram, okay? So he kind of scammed. We were talking about scammers earlier in the first book of Corinthians. He was a scammer.
Skimmer.
He skimmed off the top. He took what he gave him, and he gave him back not what he agreed to. So during that time, Abram, his mother, and the nurse went off, and they lived in a cave, literally until Abram was 10 years old. At 10 years old, he left the cave, and guess where he moved? Guess? Where was the school of the Torah? Who had that? Bailey knows. Shh.
The school of
Shem.
Shemuel.
Shemuel.
I was like,
Shem.
Shemuel.
So Noach's son Shem, he literally taught the Torah to everyone. That was what he did. He taught Torah. He was king of Salem. He was king of Jerusalem. He was a high priest. He was the Melchizedek. And listen, guys, we've got proof out of 3 different areas that say he was a king. I've got proof in the Targum, in Yasher, and in Jubilees. All 3 of these books say that Shem was the Melchizedek. Okay? So we do know who the Melchizedek was. So it was Shem. But this is who Abram went to live with. And he lived with him all the way up till he was, I think, 50 years old. Yes. He lived with Shem and Noach till he was 50 years old. Then he left and he went back home to mom and dad. So when he goes home, there's this new boy in town. Nimrod doesn't remember the whole thing. It was 50 years ago, right? Sometimes I don't remember something that happened last year, right? So 50 years ago, Nimrod's not thinking anything about this. But during an incident at Terah's house, while Abram was really concerned because he knew that his dad was building all these idols. They couldn't walk, they couldn't talk, they couldn't think, they couldn't save anyone. And he had learned all about Yahweh from Noach and from Shem. He learned to be righteous. So he learned righteousness. So when he goes back home to Daddy, the idol maker, he goes, Dad, tell me about these little g gods that you've got in there. Well, his dad took him into the room and told him, yeah, these are the gods that created us, and they created the earth. Well, Abram was like, that's not true. So he said, you know what, I'm going to make an offering to your little g gods. And he did. He cooked this beautiful meal. He carried it into him. And when his father left, he took the axe out of the big idol's hands and he smashed all the other idols. And then the food was gone. So when his dad came home, he was like, what? Well, actually, his dad was somewhere outside the house and he heard all the commotion. And he ran in there and he said, what has happened. And Avram said, you're not going to believe it, Dad. He said, I gave this beautiful offering to the gods and I set it down in between them. And the idols began quarreling over whose it was. And he said, the big one took his axe and he killed all the rest of them. And then he ate all the offering. And his dad said, son, you're lying to me. These idols can't do that. Don't you know Abram was like, why are they gods then? If they can't do anything like that, why are you even worshiping them? But he didn't say anything. But what ended up happening is Terah went to Nimrod, tattled on his son Abram. Guess what happened? Nimrod sent his soldiers and he arrested Abram and he arrested Haran, his oldest brother. Now, while Abram was in the cave with his mom, Haran had gotten married. And when he married, he gave birth to, Lot. Y'all are familiar with his name. Milcah and Sarah. So these three children were Haran's. They were Avram's nieces and nephew is who they were, okay?
And Nahor's, right?
No. They weren't Nahor's. These were Haran's children.
But Nahor's wife was Milcah.
Yes.
So it would have been like he married his niece.
No, Nahor's wife wasn't Milcah. Where does it say?
Abram's wife is Sarai.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Nahor married his cousin. I mean, his niece. And Abram married his niece. Yes,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Yes, so they married the two girls. But we're jumping ahead of the story. So while Abram is in the cave, Haran has these three kids. Well, when Nimrod sent for Abram, he arrested Abram and Haran. Would you turn the fan on?
Yes.
Please, sir. Thank you. He arrested Abram and Haran and he had them brought to him. And he had made this huge furnace. You remember the story of the three Jewish boys when they went to Babylon? You remember that story? Nebuchadnezzar had them tossed into the fire. He loved them, but they had broken one of the laws. And by the letter of the law, he had to cast them into the fire. Same type of furnace. Huge furnace. And so he cast Abram into this fire. It was so hot that the men couldn't even get up close to it without dying. But they cast Abram in there and they looked, and Abram was walking around in there. And he said, do you still believe as Abram believes? And of course Haran looked and he saw Abram, his brother, walking around in there. And he said, well, if he can do it, I can do it. He said, yes. So they cast him in there and he died immediately. I mean, it killed Haran. So in here, I believe it says Haran died in the fires of, in 28 of Genesis, in chapter 11, verse 28 says, and Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his birth, in the of Kasdim. In the fire of Kasdim, he was cast in, and he died before his father's eyes. His father did this. His father told him. So he saw Haran die. So Abram walked around inside this furnace for 3 days. Okay? He's walking around in there, just having a good old time. And finally, Nimrod says, you guys go get him out. Get him out. We've had enough of this little God thing that he's pulling out there. You know, he's gotten enough attention from this. Go get him out of there. They couldn't. They couldn't get close to the furnace. It was so hot they couldn't approach it. So finally Nimrod spoke to him and he said, do you see what the words were he said in there? Something about, oh great and wonderful Abram, please come out of the fire to us. You can probably find it, can't you? Maybe.
Is this where you have the mint?
I'm not sure. Did you eat the mint?
No, not yet.
Did you eat the bookmark?
It says, then can it be in the 30th verse? You believe by the first week.
Oh, that's Jubilee.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be Yasher.
Okay.
So at any rate, Abram came out and everyone began worshiping him. And he said, don't worship me, worship the Elohim, worship my Elohim, Yahweh, who protected me while I was in this fire. And so they honored his Elohim, and I think at this time it's when Nimrod gave him Eleazar, his servant. He gave him Eleazar, and Eleazar ends up being very close to Abram. So at this point, Abram is about 57 years old, I believe, 52 years old. He's about 52 years old. And he knows that sooner or later, Nimrod is going to come after him. So he ends up leaving and going back to where? He goes back to Shem. Thank you, Bailey. So he goes back and stays with Noah and Shem, and he stayed there until he was about 72. He stayed there 5 years. At 70, Abram returned to his father. I'm sorry, I've messed the story up because I wasn't following my notes. I was trying to get it done really quick. Okay, after this incident, Terah took Abram and Nahor, their wives, which were Milcah and Sarai, and Lot, his grandson. And they call him his son, but it was his grandson. He took all of them, and they left the Ur of Kasdim, and they went to a place called Haran. He named it after his oldest son who had died. But he went there, and then at 70, Abram returned. I'm really messing this up. At 52, he went and stayed. Well, let me go back over here. Terah and all the family left Kasdim. They headed out. They went to Canaan. Abram was 52 years old. They stayed there for 3 years. At 70, Abram returned to his father's home in Haran, and he stayed there for 5 years. He had around 72 men at this time who followed him and learned his ways. So when he was staying with his father and his mother in Haran, he had about 72 guys that were learning the way of the Torah underneath him. Now, his dad didn't know the way, but he did know that Noah told him, you need to follow your son. He is a righteous man, and he will lead you in the right direction. So these men were following him. They were learning his ways. And then finally, we come to chapter 12. And this is where we are. So Abram has already left once and gone to Canaan. Then he came back to his father's house. Now, at 75 years old, finally he's going to leave a second time, because Yah comes and he reminds him. He says, 20 years ago, I told you to leave your family and I would bless you. And he said, it's time to do that. Okay, now I'm telling you for real, leave your family. So we come to chapter 12. But all of this takes place, and guys, it's a lot of reading, but it's in the book of Yasher, and it's in the book of Jubilees. These stories are all included in these other books. So when you study and read and search out the truth, you're going to find it, right? Okay, so here we are. Chapter 12, verse 1. Would you read that, Seth?
Yes, I will. And Yahuwah said to Abram, go yourself out of your land from your relatives and from your father's house to a land which I show you. And I shall make you a great nation and bless you and make you your name great. And you shall be a blessing. And I shall bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. And curse him who curses you. And in all the clans of the earth shall be blessed. So Abram left as Yahuwah has commanded him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old, and he set out from Haran. And Abram took Sarai, his wife, and Lot, his brother's son, and all their possessions and that they had gathered, and the beings whom they had acquired in Haran, and they set out for the land of Canaan, and they came into the land of Canaan. And Abram passed through the land of the place of Shechem.
That is perfect. So Abram has come to Canaan. Now I want to, there's so much in this Torah Parsha, and there always is. But I want to stop for a moment, because when Noah came off the ark, all of the lands were divided up between his three sons.
Yep.
And what's really, really cool is that all of the land that Shem, so he took 3 dice or 3 stones and they drew for the land. This is how it ended up. Let's see, I want to make sure I'm getting this right. He knew that the Garden of Eden is the Holy of Holies in the dwelling of the Lord, and is the dwelling of Yahweh, and Mount Sinai, the center of the desert, and Mount Zion, the center of the navel of the earth. These 3 were created as holy places facing each other, and he blessed the Elohim of Elohims, who had put the word of the Elohim into his mouth, and Yahweh forevermore. And he knew that a blessed portion and a blessing had come to Shem. Shem got this whole land, the Garden of Eden, Mount Sinai, Zion. He got all of this.
That's a big blessing.
Pardon?
That's a big blessing.
It is a big blessing, but it was the lot that fell to him. So it was the lot that he drew. So that was literally, it was by Yah's hand. And Ham drew the land that was, I believe, to the south. Do you remember?
Where said I could do this for the south? I know it's in Jubilees.
It is in Jubilees. And this is Jubilees. So this is where we are right now. But the Garden of Eden, all of this land was in Shem's property. What's crazy is that Ham's son, Canaan, when they went out to take possession of the land, Ham's son, Canaan, said, I want the best land that there was. That was what Uncle Shem drew that land, but I'm taking possession of it. So you will see throughout Scripture, it is called the land of Canaan. Well, Canaan was cursed by Noah. Remember that? He cursed him after he had celebrated arriving and having his first grape harvest. He cursed Canaan. So Canaan was cursed. Canaan went and stole Shem's land, and it was named after him. So they go to the land of Canaan, and you see that right here in the area that Seth just read. He went in verse 5, and Abram took Sarai, his wife, and Lot, his brother's son, and all their possessions and all that they had gathered, and all of the beans they had gathered and they had acquired in Haran. And they set out for the land of Canaan, named after Ham's son. Okay? Wasn't his land. Yah didn't, I want y'all to realize this. Yah didn't correct this. He left it. Isn't that interesting? There was a theft of the land, boundaries were moved, and Yah didn't correct it. He left it just as it was. In fact, he left the name even as Canaan.
Yeah, the south belongs to Shem.
Okay, so the southern portion belonged to Shem, and the northern portion
Japheth.
belonged to Japheth. The south portion belonged to Ham?
Shem.
Okay, no, Shem took over all of the Holy Lands.
It says in all that is in 12 Jubilees, chapter 8.
12 of chapter 8?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. And all that is towards the north is Japheth, and all that is towards the south belongs to Shem. And it extendeth till it reacheth Choraso, and this is the bosom of the tongue, which looked towards the south. And his portion extended along the Great Sea. So that goes into everything that he had. Where does Ham?
22, it says, and for Ham, Saint came from the second portion beyond Gihon, towards the south of the right of the garden, and it extends it towards the south, and it extends to all the mountains of fire.
Okay, I was thinking his was like the furthest south.
Yeah.
So his is all the way to the south.
Mm-hmm.
Japheth is all the way to the north, and Ham's got.
Pretty
Shem
much the
has
middle
got
and
the.
the bottom, or
He's got
middle
the.
and everything.
He's got the prime property, or he had it, and Canaan stole it from him. But I find that very, very interesting, and I think that's important to know, because I used to wonder if Canaan was cursed, why in the world did they name the promised land Canaan? Okay, we're going to verse 12. 10, and we're calling this a taste of Torah because we are not necessarily, we're studying it through the week, the Torah Parsha, but we are not going over the full Torah. You're supposed to be reading this Torah Parsha each week, and when we come together, we're going over the points of interest. So in 12:10, we see that a scarcity of food came to be in the land, and Abram went down to Mitzrayim to dwell there, for the scarcity of food was severe. What's interesting here is that, is it in 17? What does he say in 17?
This, but Yahuwah plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarah.
Okay, yeah, between 10 and 17 is really where we needed to be, and that was my fault. It came to be when Abram came into Mitzrayim that the Mitzrites saw the woman, that she was very beautiful. What did he told her before they got to Mitzrayim? Look, he said, look, when they see you,
Yeah, tell him you're his sister.
you're my sister.
Yeah.
Because they're going to want you and they'll kill me to get you. So, and here's another thing that we've got to look at. Seth, would you read Exodus 19:16?
Yes, ma'am.
Because we need to understand what a lie is, right? Because I've heard lots of people, and I even did it. I was like, man, he was such a liar and a deceiver. But what was the reason he did this?
To save his life.
It was not just to save his, to save his wife's, because she would have been taken and defiled. Had they killed him, she would have been taken and defiled. So if you read the extra books like Yasher and Jubilees,
It's in 1916.
20,
Yeah.
try 20,
1920?
try
2016.
2016.
Got you.
It's the commandments.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I got you. Do not bear false witness against your neighbor.
Is that the one that says, do not lie?
Mine doesn't say do not lie.
Okay, but isn't that the one in the majority of the KJV
Yeah, it says do not lie.
that say, do not lie, do not tell a lie? It actually, that law is actually, you do not bear false witness against your neighbor. Why?
You hurt their reputation. Their reputation, plus when you do that, bad things can happen.
Okay, can it affect their marriage?
Yes.
Can it affect their job?
Yep.
Can it affect their standing in
Their
their city?
Their whole
It
living.
can destroy
Yep.
their lives. So by bearing a lie, a false witness against your neighbor, and it could be anything. You could be going around telling everybody that, hey, do you know John Doe down the road here is a Satanist? Guys, don't spread rumors. Don't spread lies. Don't bear false witness against your neighbors.
Yes.
This is a lie that kills.
Instead of that, we should be praying for them.
Yes.
And I'm bad at that too. So yeah, because you're speaking stuff into existence, because there's life and death in the power of the tongue.
Oh, that is a very good statement right there. There's life and death in the power of the tongue. Okay, so they go into Mitzrayim,
Yep.
and what happens? Sure enough, the guys are like, "Ooh, she's very pretty."
Hey.
And Pharaoh said, "Bring her to me. It's just his sister. Bring her up here." Well, when he gets there, the part that Seth was going to read a while ago was 17. But Yahweh plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, "What is this you have done to me? Why did you not inform me that she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister?" And so I was going to take her for my wife. See, he was going to take her. He wasn't going to ask her, "Hey, you want to be my wife, baby?" No, he was going to say, "You're going to be my wife. You're going to be my wife." So look, here, take your wife, take her and go. And he had already given Abram many gifts. In fact, one thing that he had given to Sarai was what? A maidservant. What was her name? Hagar. Who was she? Guys, you know that she was a princess. She was called a princess, right?
Yeah.
She was Pharaoh's daughter by a concubine. So she was literally a princess. And now she's going to be a what? She's going to be a servant? I mean, that's what he gave. basically what he said is your life with this blessed man is going to be much better than your life as a concubine's daughter in this harem. You're not going to have a good future. So he basically said, I want you to go. This is going to be a blessing for you, and it's not going to be a problem. So she takes her, and they leave. And they leave with herds. I mean, this Pharaoh had given Abram lots of goodies. If you go to the book of Yashar, I think it spells it out. But he gave him many things. So when they leave, he's got animals, Lot's got animals. In 13 verse 5, it says, now Lot, who went with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents. But the problem with Lot, okay, in verse 7 it says, and there was strife between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. And at that time, the Canaanites and the Perizzites dwelt in the land. Well, all of the Canaanites and Perizzites were coming to Abram and going, your animals are coming in there and grazing down everything that we've got. Well, it wasn't Abram's flocks. Whose were they? Lot's. Because Lot was kind of like, I'm a free grazer. That was a movie. What? He's a free grazer. So he just, wherever his flock wanted to go graze, they went and grazed. Unfortunately, they were grazing on other people's property, and he shouldn't have done that. Abraham, on the other hand, told his herdsmen, he was like, keep our animals contained. Keep them off of the other people's land and their grasslands. Don't let them graze down the other herds' grass. So he was very respectful. So what ended up happening is what? He finally said, Lot, we've grown so big. You and I have way too many animals to keep together. You choose for yourself. In fact, in verse 15, he says, in verse 14, he said, now lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are northward and southward, eastward and westward, for all the land which you see, I shall give to you and your seed forever. That's not what, yes. No, that is not what, that's what Yah is telling Abram. Abram said, separate from me. If you take the left, then I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left. And Lot lifted his eyes and saw all the plain of the Jordan, and it was well watered everywhere before Yahweh. This was before Yahweh destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. And so he chose all of that plain of the Jordan. It's river bottom. Yes, sir.
I got some. Remember that I told you a couple weeks ago, the writings of Abraham or Abraham?
Yes.
The reasoning. Can I read this?
Yes.
Okay. Chapter 65 to 75. Or 60 to 75. It's not that long. They're like,
Yeah.
But on the night before I entered into Egypt, I dreamed a dream. And behold, in my dream, I saw a cedar and a palm tree, and the branches of the palm tree were wrapped around the cedar. Suddenly, a group of men approached, seeking to cut the cedar down and leave the palm tree to stand alone. But the palm tree cried out, saying, cut not down the cedar, for whosoever seeketh it to seeketh to fall, I shall go find the curse of Yahuwah resting upon him. So the men desisted, and the cedar was spared by the act of the palm tree. When the dream was ended, I awake in my sleep, and I wondered it. Therefore I went before Yahuwah and prayed beside him, saying, O Yahuwah, show me the interpretation of this dream which I have had this night. And Yahuwah said unto me, behold, Sarah thy wife is a beautiful woman to look upon above all the women of the earth. Therefore it shall come to pass, when the Egyptians shall see her, they will say, she is his wife, and they will seek to slay thee for the sake of obtaining thy wife. So let Sarah thy wife therefore say unto him, he is my kinsman, and thy soul shall live. So y'all told him.
Yeah, that changes everything.
Yep.
Because Yah was trying to protect.
Yep.
He was trying to protect the seed.
Yes.
Of Abram, because that was going to be all of Israel.
It's the whole nation.
It's the whole.
And if he didn't step in right then, it could have been.
Bye bye.
Yep.
Abram.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, and he had to protect the seed of Sarah as well. She had to be she had to be pure. She had to be only his wife to be able to give seed to all of these children. So after Lot left, and wow, that is, it's easy to judge, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
When you don't know the full story.
Fullness, yes.
But righteous was just what Abram was in everything he did because he was raised with righteous men. Can you imagine living with Noah and Shem and
Yeah.
learning their ways and learning the Torah? I mean, that would be amazing.
Yep.
I would love that. That it would be like being in the Garden of Eden every day. It would be like being in the millennial. Okay, so after Lot leaves and takes all that fertile land, and I think that is so cool, how Abram said, whatever you want. He didn't say, look, I'm going to give you this little piece of property over here. He said, wherever you go, I'll go the opposite direction.
Yeah, he's
It
giving
was
respect.
selfless.
He's respect. Very, very of y'all. He's just like, hey, if you want to do this, I understand. We'll
Yes.
let you go. That's pretty cool.
And he didn't argue with him when he took all of the valley of the Jordan. He was like, great, bye, see ya. I'll be in touch with you. And so after this, after Lot had separated from him, and I'm in verse 14, Yahweh said to Abram, now lift up your eyes and listen. What did Abram tell him in the beginning? Separate from your family. So maybe Yah allowed this to happen to separate him from the rest of the family. Now. It's kind of like, finally, now you're alone. Lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are northward and southward, eastward and westward. For all the land which you see, I shall give to you and your seed forever. Forever. It doesn't change, does it? He gave all that land to Shem forever. Unfortunately, Ham's grandson or son named it. And I shall make your seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man could count the dust of the earth, then your seed also could be counted. That's just an addition to his first promise, isn't it? Arise and walk through the land through its length and its width, for I give it to you. So Abram moved his tent and went and dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and he built a slaughter place there. So Hebron was really the site of the first temple that was built there. But he trusts Yah so much, and that just is amazing to me, because how many times does Yah have to tell us to do something, guys?
Man. If we don't do it,
We gonna be in trouble.
that's directions.
Yes, absolutely. So we now see they have moved. They're in Hebron. He has Sarai. He has Haggai, and Lot has been separated from them. And Haggai, guys, can you imagine having a princess as your servant? A diva as your servant?
Oh God.
That would be tough, wouldn't it? You want me to do what? You want me to wash your what? Your dishes? No. I'm not going to. Oh, well, I mean, yes, I will. But she's not going to want to do anything. What were you fixing to say? Oh, no.
No. Where were we at? 14?
We just finished.
Yeah.
No, we're just about to finish.
I was just making sure we were at.
About to start 14.
Okay. Yeah. We're right on track.
Okay, 14. So we have the war that caused the capture of Lot from Sodom and Amorah. So he was living in a very deprived, very deviant, perverse area. The men of this area were very evil. In 14:14, and before this, what you have to understand is the kings have risen up against the rulers that were over them, and there is a great war that is going on. So you get to 14:14, and when Abram learned that his brother was taken captive, he armed his 318 trained servants. Listen to this, who were born in his own house, and he went and pursued as far as Dan. So they were raised up under Abram. Do you think that they have some of his characteristics?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, how old is Abram now?
100.
He's at least 75 years old. He's going to fight to get Lot back. Is that not amazing? So, in verse 15, he and his servants divided against them by night, struck them, pursued them as far as Hobah, which is on the left of Damascus. And he actually fought them, like, I think it was all the way to Syria. So he brought back all the goods and also brought back his brother Lot and his goods, as well as the women and the people. And after his return from the striking of Kedar La and the sovereigns who were with him, the sovereign of Sodom, came out to meet him at the valley of Shawah, and that is the sovereign's valley. And the Melchizedek, sovereign of Salem, brought out bread and wine. Excuse me. And he was the priest of the Most High El. What does Melchizedek mean?
Calendar.
Huh?
I'm taking a guess at this calendar.
Calendar? No, Melchizedek means king or high priest. So, and it goes on to say he was the king of Salem, but he was also the high priest of El. He was the first high priest.
It was Shem.
Shem.
Yep.
Okay, I want us to look at these other scriptures.
For Shem being the high priest,
It's in Jubilees, Jasher, and the Targum.
and in Abraham writings.
And it was in the Abrahamic writings. Well, there's four right there. You tell me, you read from the Abrahamic.
Okay, it says, my father Terah was the son of Nahor, and Nahor was the son of Serug, and the Serug was the son of Ru, and Ru was the son of Peleg. In whose days all the earth was divided. Peleg was the son of Eber, who was the son of Eber, who was the son of Salah, who was the son of the Arphaxad, the son of Shem, who was the Melchizedek, which by interpretation is king priest, for he was the king and a priest for the Most High Yahuwah.
That is beautiful. Okay, and this is from the Targum of the Old Testament, and this is the Targum, literally, of the verses 18 that we're reading right now. And it says in Melchizedek, which is Melchizedek, who was Shem bar Noah. Bar means son. So he was Shem, the son of Noah, the king of Yerushalayim, came forth to meet Abram and brought forth to him bread and wine. And in that time he ministered before Aloha, this is singular, Aloha Ilaha. And let's see. In the Jerusalem Targum, it goes on to say he was the great priest of the Most High. And he blessed Abram, and he said, blessed be Abram of Yahweh Most High, who for the righteous possesseth the heavens and the earth. And blessed be Eloah Eloha, who hath made thine enemies as a shield which receiveth a blow. And he gave to him 1 of 10, of which he brought back. So Abraham created the 1/10 tithe. This is the first time we see this, is in Scripture. In Scripture, he gave him 1/10 of everything he brought back. 1/10 of a tithe. And he didn't keep the rest. Because what did he say? Abraham said to the sovereign of Sodom, he said, I've lifted my hand to Yahweh, the Most High El, the possessor of the heavens and the earth, not to take a thread or a sandal strap or whatever is yours, lest you should say, I have made Abram rich, except only what the young men have eaten and the portion of the men who went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their portion. So he said, I'm not taking anything. He gave 1/10 to Shem, which is Melchizedek, and then everything else was split up between Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. That is pretty cool, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But Shem is the Melchizedek. Now in Hebrews, when it talks about the
7:1-3, page 1170.
page 1170,
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. You're already there.
For this Melchizedek, sovereign of Shalom, priest of the Most High Elohim, who met Abraham, returning from the slaughter of the sovereigns, and blessed him, to whom also Abraham gave 1/10 part of all, his name being translated indeed first sovereign of righteousness, and then also sovereign of Shalom, or say, is it Salem?
It is Salem.
The sovereign of Salem, that is sovereign of peace, without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of the days nor the end of life, but having been made like the son of Elohim, remains a priest for all time.
And that is our Messiah, who did have a mother. It was Mary, and his father was Joseph, who didn't sire him. He was sired by the Ruach HaKodesh. But he is in the likeness of Shem, because Shem was not from the tribe of Levi. Levi came from, Levi was a descendant of Shem. He was.
Mm-hmm.
He was a descendant of Shem.
I don't know.
So,
Well, I was really-
so on Shem's side, it goes down to Abram.
Oh, okay.
And so Abram is a descendant of Shem, and so the Levites are descendants of Shem, but Shem's not a descendant of the Levites. And so once Aharon becomes the high priest, it says only Aaronic priests can be high priests. Only the sons of Aharon could be the high priest. Yahusha didn't fall into this range, did he? And neither did Shem. What tribe was Yahusha from? Yehuda. I kind of told you. He was from the tribe of Judah or Yehuda. And so he wasn't from the tribe of Levi, though there is probably a connection to the Levite tribe through his aunt Elizabeth. Okay? So,
Yeah.
So as far as we can tell, he probably does have a little bit of Levite in him, but he is our high priest. And it's not by blood lineage. And he's our high priest in the Holy of Holies right now. Okay. So we're just kind of knocking out some things that are of interest. And if anyone is watching and they want to ask questions, if you ask them, I will not see them. But let me see. I'm going to give Bailey my phone. And Bailey's going to answer all your questions because they're going to be so easy. She'll be able to answer them. Right. She said yes. Okay. So I don't know how you get there, but get to our live stream. And then if there are questions, would you mind telling us? Or if somebody has some recommendations. Okay. Now we come to chapter 15. Are we skimming through here pretty fast? Yes?
See.
Oh, now we're speaking Spanish.
Have a little bit of Levite. Yes?
See.
I see. I see. Okay, what is really, really cool in 15 is that Abram was so 09, 02, 03. No, that wasn't it. 09 to 030.
I'll watch the questions.
Okay, your daddy has it. Sorry. She said, whatever. What is cool? 15:1. After these events, the word of Yahweh came to Abram in a dream, saying, do not be afraid, Abram. I'm your shield. Your reward is exceedingly great. And Abram said, Master Yahweh, what would you give me, seeing I go childless, and the heir of my house is Eleazar of Damascus? And Abram said, see, you have given me no seed. And see, one born in my house is my heir. And see, the word of Yahweh came to him, saying, this one is not your heir, but he who comes from your own body is your heir. And he brought him outside, and he said, look now toward the heavens, and count the stars if you are able to count them. And he said to him, so are your seed. Don't you know that would be a tough thing to believe at that time?
Yeah.
I mean, to look up at the heavens and to count. You can't count the stars. I mean, you're just overwhelmed by the number of stars up there. And here he is. How old is he? I think he's 90. He's 90 at this point. He didn't have a baby. And his wife is 80 because he was 10 years old when Sarah was born to Haran. So his wife is 80. They don't have a baby. And he's thinking, wow, Father, you're telling me I'm going to be
The father of
the
all
father
nations.
of many, many, many.
Yeah, I have none.
And he believed in Yahweh, and Yahweh reckoned it to him for righteousness. He's like, wow, we have no children and we are really, really old. Yeah, I believe you. And he said to him, I am Yahweh who brought you out of the Ur of Kasdim, which is the fire of the Kazim, to give you this land to inherit it. He brought him all the way out just for this. And he said, Master, whereby do I know that I possess it? And he said to him, bring me a 3-year-old heifer and a 3-year-old female goat and a 3-year-old ram and a turtle dove and a young pigeon. And he took all these to Yahweh and cut them in the middle and placed each half opposite the other, but he did not cut the birds. And the birds of prey came down on the carcasses, and Abram drove them away. Seth, I want you to pull this up in the Targum, because it is really amazing. Okay, so it starts right there.
Okay.
Okay.
And just read on while you're talking.
Yeah, hold on just a second though. And it came to be when the sun was going down, and a deep sleep fell over Abram that a frightening darkness fell upon him. And he said to Abram, know for certain that your seed are to be sojourners in a land that is not theirs, and they shall serve them, and they shall afflict them for 400 years. And they weren't actually in Egypt for 400 years. I mean, that goes into a whole different story. But the nation whom they serve, I am going to judge, and afterward let them come out with possessions. And now as for you, you are to go to your fathers in peace, and you are to be buried at a good old age. And then at a good old age. And then in the 4th generation, they shall return here, for the crookedness of the Amalekites is not yet complete.
I like when he says stuff like that.
I know.
All right, and he said to me, bring me oblations and offer before me an heifer 3 years, and a goat of 3 years, and a ram of 3 years, and a dove, and the young of a pigeon. And he brought all these before him, and divided them in the midst, and set them in order, every division over against its fellow. But the fowl he divided. And the fowl he divided it not. He did not divide the fowl. Sorry. And there came down adulterous peoples, which are like to unclean birds, to steal away the sacrifices of Israel. But the righteousness of Abraham was a shield over them. And when the sun was nearing to set up, a deep sleep was thrown upon Abram. And behold, 4 kingdoms arose to enslave his children: terror, which is Bavel; darkness, which is Madai; greatness, which is a Javan; and decline, which is Paras. This is pretty cool.
Hold on, I know. So I'll look these words up. Okay, so we know that Babylon is Iraq. So there's Iraq, which is terror. We have Madai, which is actually Iranian, and the current town where Madai was is Hanadan, and it stood for darkness.
Wow.
And then Javan, which was Greece, and it stood for greatness. And then Faras, which is decline. And the only thing I could find related to this was Hindu traditions that were done in marriage. So Hindu would be India.
India?
Yeah.
The Pakistani kind of deal?
Oh,
I don't want to
yeah.
separate them,
Yeah.
or I don't want to put them together because they got separation.
Do what, Grant?
I'm sorry.
Wait,
I just went rambling.
y'all can't make me statements and then take them back because I didn't hear them. Okay, so,
I don't want to say my statement.
okay.
Sorry.
So it could be India.
Yeah, it could be India
It
or
could
Pakistan.
be Pakistan. It could be other areas. But I do believe that where it is where they practice Hindu. But what do you get from that? Because this is a blood covenant. I mean, he's cut these animals in half. This is a blood covenant that he's making with him.
I don't know. Maybe I'll read it again. Sorry, this is deep.
It is deep.
But the righteousness of Abraham was a shield over them. And when the sun was nearing, he set up a sleep upon it, thrown upon Abraham. So he put him to sleep to enslave his children.
So his children were enslaved in Egypt. But see, none of these really represent Egypt. So
What about Pharaoh? That was the decline.
that's the decline, and it almost looks like these 4 are in, like the first one will be Babylon, the second one will be Iran, the third one will be Greece, and the 4th one will be India. Which is interesting because Babylon, yes, they were captive there. I don't know, Iran, well, Nineveh was in Iraq. I don't know. It's just very strange. Isn't it strange?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when it came to be, I'm in verse 17 of 15, when it came to be when the sun went down and it was dark, that a smoking oven and a burning torch was passing between those pieces. So that's like a sealing of the covenant right there. It's almost like an ascending offering. I wonder if everything was burned. And on that same day, Yahweh made a covenant with Abram, saying, I have given this land to your seed from the river of Mitzrayim to the great river, the river Euphrates, with the Canaanite and the Canaanite and the Quadmonite and the Quadmonite and the Hittite and the Perizzite and the Raphaim. Yay, giants, thought we got rid of those. And the Amorite and the Canaanite and the Girgashite and the Jebusite. Now, what is interesting, did we read that on stream about Og?
No.
No.
Do you want to? Oh, you're going to make me.
Yeah.
So, guys, yeah, there were giants after the flood. There were giants before the flood. It said there were giants after the flood. In the Targum, just before the Melchizedek, let's see. I think it may have been in. It was actually when in verse 14 of 14, when Abraham learned of Lot's captivity. This is what the Targum says. And Og, can you look at verse on Og?
Huh?
Can you look at the verse on Og
Yeah.
in the scriptures? Because I want us to see exactly who he was. And I think Moshe is the one that ended up killing him. Og came, who had been spared from the giants that died in the deluge. And listen to this. And had ridden protected upon the top of the ark and sustained with food by Noah, not being spared through high righteousness. So he was not righteous. Everyone inside the ark was righteous, but this giant was not righteous. But he was spared so that the inhabitants of the world might see the power of Yahweh and say, were there not giants who in the first times rebelled against Yahweh in the world and perished from the earth? But when these kings made war, behold, Og, who was with them, said in his heart, I will go and show Abram concerning Lot, who is laid captive, that he may come and deliver him from the hands of the kings, into hands he has been delivered. Isn't that cool?
So he knows.
I think, well, listen, Og knew Noah. Yeah, even a wild animal, if it's treated kindly by a person, that wild animal will remember that person, the face of that person, the kindness of that person. I believe that from the kindness and the love that Noah had shown to this giant, and we don't know if he was the only one up there or if there was someone else on top as well, but he rode on top of the ark for the whole time, and I can't even imagine being on top of that ark when all the rains were falling and being tossed about in the sea, right? Okay, you found it.
The defeat of King Og is in Deuteronomy 3.
Deuteronomy 3, okay?
And it's actually in Yasher 85, 21 through 27.
Oh, that was when he picked up a big, like, huge rock and threw it.
You see, so it says, then we turned and went up through the way of Bashan, and Og, the sovereign of Bashan, came out against us, he and all his people, to battle at Edrei. And Yahuwah said to me, do not fear him, for I have given him and all his people and his land into your hand, and you shall do to him as you did to Sihon, the sovereign of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon. So Yahuwah, our Elohim, gave into our hands Og, sovereign of Bashan, with all his people, and we struck him until he had no survivors remaining. And we captured all his cities at that time. There was not a city which we did not take from them. 60 cities and all district of Argob and the reign of Og in Bashan.
So he was still alive, even during Moshe's time. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that was it.
So guys, that's how he survived. He was a giant before the flood, and he continued on until he was killed by Moshe, right?
Yeah, it says only Og was the sovereign over the Bashan was left as the remnant of the Rephaites, but the Rephaites were giants.
That's
Big
cool.
ones too.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
a lot of.
we're coming to 16. Oh man, we hit an hour. That's okay. We're going pretty fast because we've only got 2 more chapters. In 16, Sarah, thinking that she was not going to be able to have, let's read the first verse. And Sarah, Abram's wife, had borne him no child, and she had a Mitzrayim female servant whose name was Hagar, which was a gift from the Pharaoh. And Sarah said to Abram, "See, Yahweh has kept me from bearing children. Please go to my female servant. It might be that I am built up by her." And Abram listened to the voice of Sarai. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her female servant, the Mitzrayim, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. And Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan. And he went in to Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. So she taunted her pregnancy before Sarai, which was awful.
Yeah.
And what did Sarai do? She went to Abram and she said, "She is taunting me because she's pregnant now with your." I thought, what is she? She said, this is what she said: "My wrong be upon you. I gave my female servant into your bosom, and when she saw that she conceived, I was despised in her eyes. Let Yahweh judge between you and me." And Abraham turned around to Sarah and he said, "She's your female servant, and she is in your hands. Do to her what is good in your eyes." And Sarai treated her harshly, and she fled from her presence. And look who found her. The messenger of Yah found her. Who was the messenger of Yah? Yahusha. That's right. Found her by a spring of water in the wilderness and by the spring on the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's female servant, "Where have you come from and where are you going?" And she said, "I'm fleeing from the presence of Sarai, my mistress." And the messenger of Yahweh said to her, "Return to your mistress, humble yourself under her hand, be obedient, be kind to her." He said, "I'm going to increase your seed greatly, too numerous to be counted." And indeed he did, because she was from where? Mitzrayim? But I'm pretty sure that Ishmael ended up being the Arabs. And he ended up having 10 brothers and sisters? We'll read about that later. Hagai's Egypt. Egypt is from Ham. So he's a Hamite. Isn't that interesting?
A little hammy.
He was a little bit hammy.
A little porky.
But from him finding her in the desert and saying, "Hey, you're going to conceive, you're going to call this child's name Yishmael because Yahweh has heard your affliction." He is to be a wild man, not tamed. He's going to be wild like a donkey. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's against him, and he will dwell over against all of his brothers. And she called the name of Yahweh who spoke to her, "You are the El who sees." For she said, "Here, even here have I seen after him who sees me." That is really cool. And so Hagar ended up bearing Abram a son. Abram called the name of his son, whom Hagar bore, Yishmael, and Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore him to her, bore Yishmael to Abram. And in 17, it came to be when Abram was 99 years old that Yahweh appeared to Abram and said to him, "I am El Shaddai. Walk before me and be perfect. Be tamim. Be full of integrity and honesty. And I give my covenant between me and you and shall greatly increase you." This is a promise. And Abram, listen, at 99, he still didn't have a baby, except for he's got his servant that was given to him from Nimrod, and he has Ishmael, his wife's maidservant's child. This is all he has. And Abram fell on his face, and Elohim spoke to him, saying, As for me, look, my covenant is with you, and you shall become a father of many nations. No longer shall your name be called Abram, but your name shall be called Abraham, because I shall make you a father of many nations. A goyim, he's going to be a father of the goyim, the Gentiles. Don't you know he was going, what are you doing to me, y'all? You're going to make me a father of the Gentiles? I'm a righteous man. Of course, he wasn't called a Hebrew or Israelite then, because there were none. He was Abram. And he said, and I shall make you exceedingly fruitful and make nations of you, and sovereigns shall come from you. And I shall establish my covenant between me and you and your seed after you in their generations for an everlasting covenant to be Elohim to you and your seed after you. And I shall give to you and to your seed after you the land of your sojournings, all the land of Canaan, as an everlasting possession, and I shall be their Elohim. And Elohim said to Abraham, As for you, guard my covenant, you and your seed after you throughout their generations. And here is part of the covenant he's given them. Are you ready? Lots of men don't want to hear this. He said, This is my covenant which you guard between me and you and your seed after you. Every male child among you is to be circumcised.
Woo.
See, the guys get so excited
We don't
about
know.
that
We don't know
commandment.
how it feels because we're so young.
Yeah, you are very young.
And that's the good thing. You can, do that when you're young.
Well, and normally it's done on the 8th day.
Poor Abram.
And there's actually science. You told me that there was
Science.
the science behind it. It's like the kratom.
Vitamin K is the highest level in the baby's body at 8 days old.
Yep.
It's higher than from birth, and then from that period on, it decreases.
Because they heal easier.
It clots.
Mm-hmm.
So vitamin K causes clotting. So on the day that the baby has the highest rate of clotting, this circumcision is performed,
Wow.
cutting all the loose skin off. And it's just a cleansing and a purifying, and it's really a sign between Yah and his servants, his children, that they are his. He says, and you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and you. So here is another sign. We know that Shabbat is one sign. His children's.
Chitlins.
His children's all perform.
Oh no, chitlins.
They be performing Shabbat. So
You get Louisianian.
we start performing Shabbat, and that's a sign that we're his kids. My husband's from Louisiana.
Yeah.
Louisiana. So the Shabbat is a sign, but here is another sign, and it is the circumcision. He said, He who is born in your house and he who is bought with your silver has to be circumcised, and so shall my covenant be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. For an uncircumcised male child who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, his life shall be cut off from his people, for he has broken my covenant. So he's saying everybody's going to get this done. And then he goes on and he says, he said to Abram, As for Sarai, your wife, do not call her Sarai, for Sarah is her name. I shall bless her and also give you a son by her, and I shall bless her, and she shall become nations. So Sarai means what? My princess. She was beautiful, and Milcah was beautiful. They were both called beautiful, beautiful women. So she went from, you're my princess, to Sarah, you're the princess of many nations. Ooh. Isn't that pretty? So from Sarai to Sarah. And Abram fell on his face and laughed and said in his heart, Is a child born to a man who is 100 years old, or is Sarah who is 90 years old, to bear a child? And Abram said to Elohim, Oh, let Ishmael live before you. He's like, okay, Let's get down to the brass
Nitty-gritty.
tacks, the nitty gritty.
Yep.
Ishmael's my heir. And he loves Ishmael. He really does. And he said, oh, please, y'all, let Ishmael live before you. And Elohim said, no. Sarah is your wife, and truly bearing a son to you, and you shall call his name Yishak. And I shall establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. And as for Yishmael, I have heard you. See, I shall bless him, and shall make him fruitful, and greatly increase him. And he is to bring forth 12 princes, and I shall make him a great nation. Isn't that interesting? How many children does Yishak have?
12.
12. And Yishmael has 12.
Whoa. That's 24 grandchildren.
That is 24 grandkids.
How many grandkids?
And
do
that's just boys, huh?
How many grandkids do you have?
18.
Oh my gosh.
But mine are mostly girls. He had mostly boys.
Poor Colin.
Can you imagine the work that was done around there?
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
Poor Colin.
I know. Poor Colin and Ben. In 21, but my covenant I established with Yishak, whom Sarah is to bear to you at this appointed time next year. So he says, next year at this time, you will have a baby. And when he had ended speaking with him, Elohim went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all those born in his house, and all those bought with his silver, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskins, that same day as Elohim had told him. Guys, don't you know he's willing to do anything? I mean, this is the first time he's been told when the baby's coming. Now he knows in 1 year you're going to have a baby from Sarah. He's ready to get the show on the road. He's like, come on, we're all going to go get circumcised today. Come on, get ready. Grant, y'all come on, we're going to go get circumcised. He was gathering all the men up. And Abram was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his skin, and Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised on the same day, and all the men of his house born in the home or bought with silver from a foreigner were circumcised with him. So everybody got to be circumcised. And this was like 1 year before Abraham turns 100 years old, Sarah turns 90, and Ishmael will be 14 when Yishak is born. Isn't that cool?
Ah, crazy. Not crazy. That's cool.
That's crazy?
No.
You crazy. You crazy boy.
Coolest, no.
That's cool as wind.
Okay, so were there any other points that you guys wanted to bring up on the Torah Parsha?
I think it was cool.
Hmm?
I think it was pretty interesting.
It was amazing,
It
wasn't
was
it?
interesting.
What's amazing is that all the Torah Parshas are very full. I mean, it's not like you're reading through going, oh, when are we going to get through with this?
Speak for yourself. I'm joking.
Oh, I'm going to hurt him after class. Oh, yeah.
That's okay.
Yes, we're going to.
We can do it
We can do
online.
it together.
We can.
Just smile and
Get
wave.
caught
Yes.
up.
If you'll bind his mouth, he won't be able to scream very loud.
There we go.
So guys, this does conclude the Torah Parsha for today of Lakah. And you go out. So I have so much fun studying these. Next week, when Valerie comes back, we are going to start the study of the first book of Adam and Hua. And actually, I'm really flipping coins to see if I may do it from R.H. Charles or from the Sefer. This one seems to read very different.
Does it?
Mm-hmm. Have y'all seen this one?
Mm-mm.
What was the one that we were reading from the first time?
That small white one.
It's
Yes,
like a yellow.
Yeah, it was yellow.
I tried to find that one. Who was that by?
What's his name? Plunkett? Or,
It was Punkett.
yeah.
It was
something like
Punkett. I'm going to write that down because I was really trying to find it. Punkett, T? or Plunkett?
Plunkett. That's what it was.
Don't yell at me.
Sorry. That's what it was. Because I remember that it was a weird name.
Uh-huh.
Let's see.
So guys, we will be starting that next week. And next week, the Torah Parsha, let me tell you what it is so that you can study it and be ready. The next
Lumpkin.
Lumpkin.
That's what it was.
It's not Plunkett or Bumpkin.
Bumpkin.
Just a second, I'll have to write that down. Okay, next week we have Vayera,
Plunkett.
which is and he appeared. It's gonna be a good one. Because what is next week gonna be about? Sodom and Gomorrah.
And Yishak.
And Yishak. Oh, yes, I bet you're right. Oh my goodness, I think next week has got the Akita involved. It does. So next week has the Akita as well.
What's that?
It will be the sacrifice of Yaakov.
Ooh.
Okay. So that's going to be another full Torah Parsha. But what we're trying to do, guys, is keep the Torah Parsha at an hour. We're trying to keep all of our classes at an hour. We're having to learn because I get off on tangents and they're really trying to rein me in.
How long is
Because
this one?
this one was 1 hour and 16 minutes.
Like I'm like, what?
The first one was longer.
Yeah, it was an hour and 13 minutes.
Well, that's because of your it was your fault. Your
It was
fault.
all my fault.
It was
We're
all
gonna
her
have to get
fault.
those books this week.
Huh?
Different ones.
No, the Russians are
Okay,
nice.
let me know, and I will do the same thing.
Okay.
So, guys, listen, we're either going to be out Bucket,
No, Lumpkin.
Lumpkin,
Or that.
Lumpkin.
Thanks. Flat.
Platt. There's Platt. There's Lumpkin. There's R.H. Charles. I really would like to get these books and look at them side by side. Cause see this one. Look at this. This is very different. I think it's very different from the Sefer. I can't even find the first page. See? These books are just hard to read. But we will, I may come on before next week and tell you which book we're going to be studying out of. Whichever book we're studying out of, we will at least let you know next week. But I urge everyone to buy this book. Maybe not yet.
What is it called?
The first book of Adam and Hua, or Adam and Eve.
I thought you were talking about that other one.
What other one?
Oh, that Abram and
Okay. But I do urge everyone to buy this book and study along with us, because you are going to be amazed at the things you hear and study in the first book of Adam and Hua. You actually have the first sacrifice. You have the actual reason that they sinned. It wasn't about food. I know everybody wants to make it about food, don't they? But it didn't have anything to do with food. It had everything to do with the fact that they wanted to be like Yah. Same reason that Hasatan sinned. So we're going to get into that next week. So we'll probably be having 3 studies each week. That's our goal.
It's cool.
yeah, I remember we used to stay here until like 5.
Hey, we've been here till 7 before.
Yeah, I do remember
I
that.
remember we've been here till 8 one time when Whitney was here.
Shabbat shalom.
Pray.
Oh. Seth, would you pray us out?
Yep. You, Father, thank you for having us today. Thank you for awakening us today. Thank you for this word that you brought to us, Father. Forgive us for our sins, every single area in our lives where we fall short, whether it's my mouth or whether it's my pride or anything, Father. Help us grow from these things that we're sinning against you in, Father. Help us be more like you and more like your Son, who walked on this earth and walked it out till his death, Father. And he continues to walk it out in the Spirit just to be with us, Father. Father, we love you, we thank you, and we bless your holy name in the precious name of your son, Yahushua. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Good prayer. So, guys, Shabbat.
Shalom!
Yeah, they're good. They're good. Until next week, we'll see ya. Grant, you okay, buddy? Do you know your fall? Shabbat Shalom, and we'll see you next week. And please study your Torah Parsha. And listen, also on the Torah Parsha, it's Genesis 18, 1 through Genesis 22, 24. And then 2 Kings 4, 1 through 37. So that will be all of the Torah Parsha. And if you read that, you'll be able to follow along with us as we discuss the highlights. And guys, there were a lot of things that took place outside of the normal canonized scriptures when it comes to the Akida. Because what's fascinating is that by the time the Akida occurs, there's actually 3 individuals. And when I say the Akida, it's the offering up of Yishak. There's actually 3 guys that Abram's like, well, maybe it's Eleazar. Well, maybe it's Ishmael. And maybe it's not Yishak that y'all's asking me to sacrifice. Because he considered Eleazar his heir. And then, of course, Ishmael became his heir, and so did Yishak. So it's really interesting the way that Yah just kind of uses everything. It's just amazing. And we will see during that Torah portion, we will also see the death of Sarah. So the mother of many nations is going to die. And so, guys, be blessed. We love you all. And
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
Oh, that sounded